Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Build Your Copywriting Business podcast. Hey there, Kate.
Hello, hello.
Hello. Okay, guys, full disclosure. I can't promise that Kate and I aren't going to get a little bit ragey in this episode, that we're not going to let the inner demons come out during this one and maybe give you a little bit more information about us than you had wanted. People are listening to this going, oh my gosh, what are they going to talk about?
Copywriting formulas.
Formulas. And
nothing gets us riled up.
Yeah, the rage.
Niches and then copywriting formulas are right close second. Maybe we'll overtake it. I don't know. We'll have to.
Don't you get me started on niches, Kate. Oh, man. But yes, as Kate is saying, what we're going to talk about today is the concept of copywriting formulas, as in, here are 10 formulas you can use to write the perfect headline, or,
increase your open rates by X percentage. Killer ad copy and emails with these templates.
Yeah. Hey, business owners, you don't need to write your own emails. Just use this welcome email series template and you'll 10x your business, whatever, all these promises. As you probably figured out, we think that we know that templates are a load of hooey. It is sometimes a little tricky to have a G-rated podcast because things like this make me not want to be G-rated.
But to Nicki's point, if there was a formula for just copy that nailed it, that this is what you do and everyone just plugs and plays and does a Mad Lib and you have the perfect email or the perfect sales page or the perfect whatever, we would be out of work. We wouldn't have jobs if that was how it worked. So hopefully you're on board and you kind of understand. If not, we're going to take you through some more reasons of why formulas are not the strongest and what you can do instead.
Yeah. Part of what makes me so upset about the idea of, just use these easy copywriting formulas is, and obviously they're not aimed at copywriters, but we do want to make sure that you're not tempted to use these as a shortcut, but they're aimed at business owners who are intimidated by their own messaging. And quite frankly, there is an argument for being not being intimidated, but being a little bit nervous or at least being very mindful of their own messaging. Because as we've talked about before, and undoubtedly we'll talk about again, messaging is the most important part of a business. If a business could have the most amazing product or service or offering or whatever, but if they can't describe to their target audience why it's so amazing, it's not going to sell. Whereas if they had just a white page with black text on it and no pictures, they could have a crummy service or product, but if they could describe it well and make it sound compelling and make their target audience want it, they're going to sell like crazy. And again, I'm not advocating for selling stuff that is not good. But the point is that fundamentally, no business can be successful without effective messaging. And business owners know this. They might not want to know it because writing is intimidating for a lot of people. I think that's something that we tend to forget as copywriters, that because it's something that, yes, you have to train to be a copywriter. All of our students know that, certainly. But as often as people who've heard, oh, you're such a good writer growing up, or, oh, yeah, can you just look this over for me? You're such a good writer. We kind of take it for granted that writing is easy or something that is not difficult. And we forget that it's actually something that is challenging for a lot of people, for a large percentage of the population. They view writing, they view communications, they view even strategizing their messaging as incredibly, incredibly difficult. So a lot of business owners think, oh my gosh, I have to get my messaging together. I have to do this really well. I don't know how to do this. They often put it off to the last thing. And then they go, what am I going to do? So when they come across things that are templates that promise to make it easy to write the most effective headline or whatever. A lot of them are looking at something like the promises of these templates going, oh, thank goodness. Now I don't have to figure out how to do it myself, or now I don't have to hire a copywriter, or now I don't have to. It preys upon a need in business owners, but it doesn't actually fulfill those needs.
Yeah, and I think the one of the things the points that you brought up that made me think of this is that the basis of copywriting doesn't start with writing. It starts with the strategy. It starts with digging into your deep benefits and what your customers really need and want, and how whatever it is that your client is offering, what solution that provides for their specific target audience, and who is their target audience. Do they even know who their target audience is, or are they trying to sell to just everyone and the broadest possible market, which is going to fail as copywriters, not everything is made for everyone. And if that was the case, that's why do you think there's so many different types of car companies and car makers, and they advertise, they each have a different target audience of who their ideal customer is and who's most likely going to be to purchase that car. But you need to dig into the customer's particular needs, their concerns, your client's particular needs, their concerns. And so putting formulas aside for a minute, all of that starting work needs to be done before you can even write formula or otherwise, whatever. And I think one of the dangerous things with formulas is that business owners that see this, to your point, but even copywriters who are looking for an easy way and to expedite their writing, if they go straight to formulas, they're also doing their clients then a disservice, and why we don't advocate for it, because you still need to do all of that work beforehand. The writing is sometimes the easy part. Not always, but sometimes. It's frankly not always the most time-consuming part of what you're doing. The figuring out all of that information you need, all of the pieces, if you will, to the puzzle to be able to write, that's what you need to do first. And I think so many people skip that part and go straight to writing without having the right pieces. And that's never going to work. That's never going to perform well. And that's going to do you a disservice and your clients a disservice, and frankly, you a disservice in the long run, because your client's not going to want to work with you again if you're not providing effective messaging for them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Exactly. And just to give some kind of context, if you've never seen any of these formulas, or never, which quite frankly, I hope you haven't seen any of these formulas. But
they probably have. They're out there. Everyone sends here's a list of subject lines to use. Here's a list of the. Yeah. I know. I hope you haven't.
So if you're not familiar with these, and maybe you are, Kate and I, we see this a lot. They're common opt-ins, which doesn't make any sense, because if you want to hire someone to be your copywriter, why would to give people a formula? Oh, you can just use these formulas instead of hiring a copy. That doesn't make any sense anyway. But these, again, I'm going to try to control the rage. But these formulas are things like, finally, insert the solution you're providing, ! Or finally, the solution you're providing is here, ! Or another one, would you like insert the end result ? For it's so basic. And the idea is that, if you just insert some keywords here and put a question mark and make this one's a question version, and as if the concept of starting a headline with finally is going to be the thing that makes or breaks messaging, right? This kind of gets back to that. And Kate, I know you have some others, but this kind of gets back to that idea of it's just so easy. It's like Mad Libs, right? Just plug in a word or two and great, I'm done. I've completed a headline. When the efficacy of a headline has nothing to do with the tiny little word, with whether or not you use an exclamation point or the tiny little words that you add in. It has so much more to do with the actual content and the words that you've chosen to make sure that those words resonate with your target audience. And that's another thing that templates don't let you do. They don't let you make sure that the way you are writing these things actually, number one, resonates with your target audience, and number two, is in your brand voice, or in your client's brand voice, in the company's brand voice.
Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of parallels here with these formulas and this idea with Chat GPT and AI too, as we're talking about it. It's what you feed into the formula or what you feed into Chat GPT AI is, if it's, you're going to get out. So if, for example, to Nikki's point, like it has so much more to do with the content and the actual message. So versus the words and the ultimate headline, because if you don't have the right, if you're not saying the right thing to your audience, you're not getting at the right benefit. If you haven't identified the right benefit, then it doesn't matter what word choices you're using. I mean, yes, the word choices matter, but what I'm saying is they matter second to the actual content and what you're trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
If you I'm trying to think of a good analogy for this, but it's like those are like the bones of your human being. If you throw a great outfit on a crummy bone or no bone, you just have a pile of clothes versus this is not the best analogy. This is what I could come up with. We're getting towards Halloween, folks.
Keep going.
just watch the train get wrecked.
I'm enjoying it.
I'm glad. I'm thoroughly glad. But to that point, if you have a very strong benefit, you're identifying the right message, you're identifying what your customers need to hear, and you actually have a skeleton, and then you put clothing on the skeleton, then that's going to be a lot more effective than the pile of clothes. That's what we're going with today. All right. Hopefully that visual worked for someone.
It's working for me. Very much so.
But to give some more headlines and maybe plug and play some different things, and I'm not going to say where we got these. These were actually in an email I received as potential headlines to use, potential formulas for headlines to use. So one of them was done. They did some negative ones. So like the product, insert product, you don't, negative verb. So the example being the finance platform you don't hate.
What is that even saying? It's not even saying anything.
It's saying that I won't hate it.
Exactly. It's words
but
without.
Why?
Exactly. It's putting words out there without purpose. And that's the antithesis of everything that copywriting is about.
Mm-hmm.
We know that every one of our words is purposeful. The financial product you don't hate. What's the purpose of even having that line? I don't.
We've broken her, folks. We've broken her. But yeah, so and then that doesn't even have, to layer on top of that, brand voice is obviously very, very important. The word choices you're using to speak in the tone and voice of the organization you're writing for. I mean, that line obviously has no real tone or voice in it, but that's on top of the fact, again, that the message is, we don't know what the message is. What are they trying to tell us? What's in it for me? What context do I have?
We don't put a headline on a page just because it looks good, right? Mm-hmm. We have
or because it's clever or because it's funny.
Although it might be, yes, if that's the brand, mm-hmm. but it has to have a purpose. It's finally a headline. It has to, everything that we do has to have a purpose. And all of these templates are doing is just giving them random words to put on a page and make these business owners feel like, I did something. Look, I have my messaging, and this company that sends out this email with the templates, this must be okay because this company says that it's okay. Whereas I guarantee that whatever company sent that out would never use templates like that. Never. And on top of the fact that whenever I think about templates, I think about, it was I was going to say a couple years ago. It's probably a while ago now, 7 or 8 years. It doesn't matter. But there was a big digital marketing company that was selling email templates for like $7 or something like that. Mm-hmm. And I was curious. I wanted to see what these were. So $7, I paid the $7. So, and they were just as we were talking, nothing special, right? Nothing breakthrough, nothing, and very generic. And certainly if you're sending out an email template, it's not going to be your brand. It's going to be this company's brand that you were just buying. Anyway, what I noticed was they were doing a big promotion. They had and have a big audience. And what I noticed probably like a week or so later is I looked at my inbox and I had 3 emails from 3 totally different companies, 3 totally different businesses, 3 totally different, like, I don't know, business coaches or whatever. And they all had the same subject line.
Oh my God.
And I opened it up and they all had roughly used this same template and had just, again, put in their pricing or their signature and that kind of thing. And it was first kind of validating, but also how embarrassing for these companies. If I certainly was not the only person that received the exact same emails. It also makes these companies look lazy. Like, you want my business, but you're not willing to put in the time to come up with your own email, to write your own email. You borrowed it from somebody else who told you it would work. And again, it's, yes, they switched out keywords, but it wasn't in their brand voice. The messaging was not geared toward me, which, let's face it, is the most important thing. Not me being the most important thing in all, but me
the target consumer.
As the target consumer. Yeah. Exactly. It's not all about Nicki. But in that instance, in those emails, it was, or it should have been, and it wasn't. And these are all of the mistakes that it is so easy to make. And again, these opt-ins with, use these templates to make it easier for you. They get so much traction because so many business owners need help, right? Messaging is so important, and they need help. This is something we talk about a lot when it comes to pitching, that, like, we get in our own heads, and I'm afraid of pitching because, what if they don't? Don't forget that they need our help. We are providing a valuable service. And obviously our students know that we put value first in all of our pitches. But when you do that, you are providing help. When you're showing up in someone's inbox, you are providing help with something that they are very likely struggling with, and might otherwise choose these dumb templates that are going to put them further behind, versus taking the time to actually really think through their messaging with a professional like us and put together messaging that is fantastic and that will actually have a positive impact on their business.
And as copywriters, it might be very tempting to opt into these things yourselves, just to have, okay, if they're telling me that these subject lines are going to help increase open rates and you want to help your clients do just that, you might obviously download them, see them, and might be tempted to use them, is all that's to say. And I think use them as inspiration, potentially a jumping off point. Maybe it jogs some ideas in your brain and it gets you thinking in other directions. But learn to be savvy when it comes to knowing when you're being marketed to. These things are very good at marketing to us and saying, okay, oh my gosh, of course, if these subject lines are going to be the things that work, or if this is the call to action I need to use, or this is the email template that's going to, drive 20% more revenue, or whatever. These are very tempting metrics. These are very tempting marketing tactics that they're using to us. And so, yeah, even if you use them and look at these and feel inspiration, know that you still need to do all of the strategy work beforehand to be able to write the most effective subject line or email or whatever it is that you're creating, and that templates aren't going to get you there. I think especially when you're first starting out, it might be tempting, even more so. But even as time goes on, I think you'll get faster at knowing where things lay out, and you won't feel like you need the crutch of a template. You will feel more confident in your own abilities to write and create something that's going to be the most effective thing for your client. I think there's a confidence thing for us copywriters in it, that we feel like, well, I don't feel like I know enough. So obviously this thing that's telling me that these are the right way to go, that this template is the right way to go, these subject lines are the right way to go, I'm going to use that. Know that you have done the work, and remind yourself that you know what you're doing. And if you're digging in with your client and you're doing that kickoff call and you're getting all of that information you need to identify what it is they're offering and those deep benefits, you know so much more than any template could ever tell you, or any formula could ever tell you. So your skills are so much more effective than any formula. Full stop. And so I think the more that you can remind yourself that, the more you won't feel like you have to use these things as a crutch, and you won't feel like, they're an easy button. Will it take you maybe longer to write a headline? Yes, obviously, if you plug something into a formula, it doesn't take that long. But that's not what you're getting paid for. And so, if you're pricing your services correctly, this shouldn't even be you shouldn't have to feel like you're looking for an easy way out of a project. You should feel very confident in what you have to offer and know that you're getting compensated well for it.
Especially because that easy way out doesn't actually end up being effective
not easy
anyway.
For anyone. Yeah, we always come back to this too. It's easy for you. It's not easy for your client in the sense that you're not delivering good work. And so if it's easy for you and it doesn't benefit your client, that's not what we want to be as professional copywriters and as partners to our clients. We want to deliver really great service and the best work we can. And we're going to do that by relying on our own skills, not by relying on formulas that, to Nicki's point, to see 3 of the same subject, like, it's mind-boggling, but also it's nothing then you want to stand out from anything that's already been created. And that's the whole point of why AI is not going to work, because they can just regurgitate what already exists. You want to do something new and different and grab attention and stand out in the space. And that's never going to happen with any of this stuff that's just been done before. And yes, is it harder? Sure, sometimes, but that's the fun of it. It's a challenge. It's more of a puzzle. I've even found myself, I worked in higher ed for many years with many different higher ed clients. And I would find myself sometimes for one client writing something. And I was like, oh, I think I wrote something very, very similar for this other client. And it was like, whoopsie, I need to go back and revisit. Like, why is this? Are they even in the same, and sometimes they were, which made sense. Okay, this made sense because they're very similar organizations. But sometimes it was like, oh no, you didn't dig in enough, and they have a very, very different benefit. They have a very, very different audience. They have a very different message. So it was me being lazy on my own of like, oh, this was a great line. Let me reuse this for this client. And it was like, no. Let's not take the lazy way out. Let's do the work for this specific client.
That's such a great point. The whole fun of what we do is combining the creativity and the strategy. And if you take that away by trying to rely on templates, what's the point? What's the point of doing this if there's no creativity and there's no strategy and there's no fun? First of all, it's not going to be effective anyway. And second of all, what's the point of doing this to begin with? So that's our rage. That's how we feel about it. And quite frankly, I hope that that's how you feel about it now too. They are very prevalent. Templates to do anything, right? Oh, here's the template for your landing page. Here's the design template. Here's this. It'll be so much easier. But the easy button is not going to get the excellent results. And it's certainly not going to get the excellent results that we promise our clients. And so an easy button is, if anything, the easy button is just it's
a lazy button. I'm sorry.
It's a lazy button.
It is.
Yes.
I get it. Sometimes I want to be lazy too, but not when
and it doesn't actually work anyway. Yeah. So that's what we have to say about templates. Tune in next time when we come up with something else to be raging. Just kidding. Promise we'll limit the rage to, once every several episodes.
I was gonna say, it's been a while.
It's been a while since we put out. Yeah. And this wasn't even the full rage. Because again, we keep it G rated. But we also hope that it's very clear that we feel strongly about this. And before you are, certainly opt in just to see what they are, but don't be tempted to undermine your own skills and the value of what you do by leaning on templates, because it's not worth it. And so with that, we will catch you guys in the next episode. Bye, everybody. Like what you heard? Hit subscribe so you never miss a video. And if you're ready to take the first step toward becoming a copywriter yourself, sign up for a free video training right here.